Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
The gate to anything meaningful is guarded by pain, boredom, and doubt. That is the toll. You pay it not once, but repeatedly, until your body forgets how to negotiate and simply moves. There is no shortcut, no savior, no 7-step plan that saves you from the wall. Everyone meets it, most back away. Some wait beside it, hoping the wall will lower itself out of pity. But a few, very few, press their hands to the stone and begin the slow, maddening climb. Those are the builders. The ones who understand that if it doesn't terrify you, it won't transform you. Everything easy creates replicas. Everything hard forges originals. Pain is not the obstacle. It is the confirmation. It is the signal that you're standing on the edge of a frontier most abandoned. That's where all growth begins. Not at the starting line where the crowd cheers. Not at the summit where the story gets told. But in the silent trench where the work stops being novel and starts being necessary. That's where most people crack. Not because they failed, but because they expected comfort to coexist with greatness. It doesn't. The minute something begins to matter, the world applies pressure. That's not sabotage. That's filtration. The hard path isn't a punishment. It's a question. One that asks again and again how badly you want it. And your actions are the only acceptable answer. Discomfort is the gatekeeper of all high places. Nothing elevated accepts visitors who arrive without bruises. The universe will make sure of that. It will test your focus with distractions that wear the mask of opportunity. It will test your drive by giving you enough to make quitting feel reasonable. It will feed you just enough comfort to justify mediocrity. And if you're not awake, you will mistake that for success. But the ones who keep going, who keep digging when the applause dies, who keep studying when no one is watching, those are the ones who eventually extract gold. Because they understood early that pressure doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're finally doing something that matters. Effortlessness is a lie sold by people who quit early and found a way to disguise it. Every real achievement bleeds. It breaks down your assumptions, rearranges your identity, burns through your false confidence, and forces you to either shatter or sharpen. Most people choose to shatter quietly. They smile while retreating. They rewrite their ambitions to match their tolerance. But the rare ones let the hardship carve them. They allow the pain to etch new rules into their bones. Rules about what matters. Rules about how much they're willing to bleed. And those rules become character, not the fake, performative kind. The kind that anchors a man when every outcome fails to arrive. People crave ease because they were never taught how to suffer with direction. They confuse struggle with failure, not realizing struggle is the exact forge where competence is born. You don't become great in the light. You become great in the hidden hours where doubt whispers louder than hope, where no one claps, where the mirror asks questions only action can answer. The ones who walk through that season without flinching don't just win. They change. They exit with a different nervous system. One that doesn't flinch at hardship. One that doesn't fantasize about escape. One that recognizes the hard thing as a necessary gate. Not because they enjoy pain, but because they understand its purpose. There's a moment when the work gets so heavy, so grueling, that you stop thinking about outcomes altogether. You stop measuring progress. You stop imagining applause. All that remains is the work. That is when you know you're close, because the mind has dropped every excuse. The ego has gone quiet, and only the body moves. There is a trance to this, a brutal, holy rhythm only the obsessed understand. It's the rhythm that separates those who flirt with the edge from those who own it. And once you feel it, once you realize pain is not the end but the entrance, you never want the easy route again. Because ease offers nothing but erosion. The hard road, though slower, builds permanence. Every challenge you avoid becomes a version of yourself you will never meet. Let that haunt you. Let it remind you that the price of peace is effort paid in private. There are versions of you, stronger, calmer, more dangerous, that only emerge when difficulty wraps its hands around your neck and you keep moving anyway. These versions are not found, they are forged. And forging takes heat. It takes repetition. It takes walking through the same fire with eyes open and resolve unshaken. Most will turn back, but the rare ones lean forward even when it burns. Especially when it burns, because they know what waits on the other side is not a prize. It's a person, a self-worth becoming. Discipline is not waking up early. It is not saying no to cake. It is not journaling or meditating or cold plunging. Discipline is your ability to suffer in silence without rearranging your principles. To keep acting when your results have not caught up to your effort. To make yourself harder than the problem without becoming hollow. That kind of discipline can't be taught in comfort. It's born when everything in you wants to negotiate, and you refuse. When the work becomes harder than your justification system, and still you execute. Without applause, without shortcuts, without dramatics. That's what separates the average from the eternal. Every worthy pursuit has an invisible toll booth. The toll is paid in frustration, in repetition, in evenings where you question your sanity and mornings where you build again anyway. This toll is not always fair. It does not always reward the most talented or the most prepared. It rewards those who return to the work even after betrayal, even after loss, even after they realize that mastery might take a decade longer than they imagined. And when you pay that toll, when you give the hours, the blood, the focus, the path doesn't just open. You become the path. You stop chasing validation and start radiating clarity. Because you know deep in your marrow that everything worth doing is hard, and still you choose it. That is the mark. When you stop avoiding hard things and start preferring them. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because you trust what comes from it. Because you've seen what ease creates, and you've rejected it. You want the scars, you want the tension, you want the version of yourself that only hardship can unlock. Modern society is a decorated cage. It hums with artificial peace, padded convenience, and digital dopamine. But beneath the gleam there is a truth the body never forgot. Your biology was forged in storms. It evolved in scarcity, stress, and the primal grind of survival. You were designed to scan treetops for predators, to feel the ground shift beneath your bare feet, to hunt under silence, to bleed and then build again. But now you sip coffee under fluorescent lights and call it life. The dissonance is not subtle. That ache you feel when everything is easy. That itch in your spine when comfort stretches too long. That is the ancient signal. Your genome remembers the battle. And when you deprive it of adversity, it begins to cannibalize itself in restlessness. Comfort is the most elegant poison ever invented. It rewards you with short-term satisfaction while extracting your long-term vitality. When life no longer asks you to rise, you forget how to stand. But the call never dies. It murmurs from within, telling you something is off, that your bones were built for more than ergonomic chairs and optimized morning routines, that you were made to adapt to change with fury, not negotiate your goals with apathy. You are not meant to live in a loop of cravings, coping, and consumption. Your biology expects resistance. It craves challenge. That is why hard things do not just build you, they align you. They snap your nervous system back into ancestral rhythm. You were built in war and born from survivors. Every breath you take carries the DNA of men who ran barefoot through snow, who stalked prey for days, who stitched wounds without flinching. Now that same blood is asked to sit still, to apologize for its intensity, to pretend passion is dysfunction. You wonder why anxiety rises in idle rooms, why your focus withers in ease, because you are biologically misaligned. Hardship reawakens what comfort numbs. It is not trauma you seek, it is honesty. The honesty of friction. The truth of your own limits tested by fire. Every hard thing is a mirror. A chance to remember what it feels like to be whole. Your body is not broken, it is underutilized. Your mind is not clouded, it is understimulated. What you interpret as fatigue is often spiritual boredom. The soul asking you to stop shrinking into safety and start bleeding into purpose. The ancient part of you never stopped wanting to earn peace through movement. Not as punishment, but as requirement. Struggle is your native language. Evolution did not wire you to coast. It wired you to climb, to sharpen against the edges of what feels impossible. That's why running from discomfort breeds depression. Because your nervous system was never designed for a life that offers no worthy enemies. Artificial peace numbs you by simulating resolution. Screens whisper affirmation. Metrics offer validation. Algorithms anticipate your needs before you feel them, and yet you grow dull. Because none of this tension is real, there is no skin in the game, no failure that breaks your bones, no pursuit that keeps you up at night. The genius of modern comfort is that it kills you without bruising you. It wraps you in softness until your instincts rust. That is why voluntary hardship matters. Why you must chase difficulty before it finds you unprepared. Because without that pursuit, you become domesticated in the worst way alive, but dormant. Your genome wants the climb. That's why hard things feel right. Not because suffering is noble, but because it reminds your body what alignment feels like. Purpose is not found in pleasure. It is forged in the friction between what you are and what you must become. Ease dulls the blade. Pressure sharpens it. The man who leans into discomfort isn't addicted to pain. He's fluent in truth. He knows who he is when the world stops protecting him. That knowledge is irreplaceable. It is the only foundation worth building a legacy on. Society rewards politeness over presence, convenience over capacity. But your nervous system knows better. It tightens in boredom. It screams under suppression. You were not made for endless comfort. You were made to endure the elements, to see your breath in the cold and feel your pulse during risk. The greatest tragedy of modernity is not burnout, it's underuse. The fact that you could go your whole life without ever meeting the version of you who is capable of withstanding hell and still moving forward. You feel hollow in peace because peace was handed to you. It was not earned. It was marketed, and earned peace feels different. It has weight. You walk differently when you know what it took to stand. You breathe differently when your lungs remember drowning. That's why hardship dignifies you. It reintroduces you to your instincts, your speed, your resilience, your ability to solve, to adapt, to lead. The parts of you that only emerge when comfort dies. And once you feel them, you never want to go back to idle safety, because you've tasted what it means to live. Your real nature is not compatible with endless safety. It rejects it. That's why you feel anxious in long peace, why you sabotage routine, why you pick fights with stillness. You are not broken, you are under-challenged. Real peace is not the absence of war, it is the aftermath of victory, and victory demands effort. It demands collisions. Without them, you atrophy, not in muscle, but in meaning. Meaning does not arrive through pleasure. It arrives through pressure, through sacrifice, through the grit of choosing the uphill path again and again until your spirit becomes armor. From food to content to identity, the modern world has one silent mission: reduce friction. Not because friction is bad, but because it slows consumption. Effort delays profit. So everything is engineered to be fast, shallow, and addictive. Meals no longer require preparation. Thoughts no longer require research. Personalities no longer require integrity. You just swipe a screen and become what feels easiest in the moment. But ease has a hidden cost. It robs you of origin, of story, of strength. Because anything that doesn't require effort also doesn't offer meaning. And without meaning, you become replaceable. interchangeable, forgettable. The hard path is hard because no one can give it to you. It has no download link, no subscription. It demands your skin in the game. Every corner of society now sells you the illusion of speed. Productivity apps, self-help slogans, algorithmically curated lifestyles. But the people who sell shortcuts rarely build anything worth remembering. Because their path skips the hardship, and hardship is the only thing that carves weight into your words. Without it, your identity is a costume, a series of temporary beliefs you put on to feel significant. But when the winds of real life blow, those beliefs vanish. Only what you suffered to earn remains. That's why the hard path looks barren. Why few take it? Because it cannot be outsourced. No one can endure your storm for you. No one can bleed on your behalf. And that is why what you build on the hard path cannot be faked. Even your identity has become a commodity. You are told to brand yourself before you build yourself, to project before you reflect, to sell an image before you forge an essence. And in doing so, you trade internal solidity for external applause. But applause fades, and when it does, the question will not be what did they see in you? It will be what did you see in yourself when no one was looking? The hard path makes you confront that question. It forces you to build foundations instead of facades, and those foundations are slow. They demand setbacks. They require solitude. They make you uncomfortable, but they also make you real. Convenience feels good in the moment because it silences the voice that demands growth. But silence is not peace. It is suppression. You do not become better by avoiding effort. You become numb. And numbness breeds dissatisfaction that no external success can resolve. This is the paradox of modern ease. The more comfort you consume, the more unfulfilled you become. Because deep down, your biology knows you have bypassed the climb, and without the climb, you have no claim to the summit. The hard path reminds you that greatness cannot be bought. It must be suffered into existence. The difference between entertainment and evolution is pain. Entertainment removes it. Evolution requires it. And in a world built to keep you entertained, choosing to evolve is the most radical decision you can make. It means waking up when others sleep, building when others distract, focusing when others scatter. You will not be rewarded immediately. You may be mocked, misunderstood, even pitied, because most people confuse your silence for uncertainty. But the truth is, you're building momentum in the shadows. And when it arrives, it won't be subtle. It will rewrite the room. That is what effort buys. Not just results, but presence. There's a reason the hard path creates outliers. Because it filters. It eliminates those who need applause to move. It discards those who can't keep going without visible progress. It isolates those who confuse urgency with importance. The ones who remain become anomalies, quiet, calculated, unshakable, because their process didn't rely on hacks or handouts. They learned to navigate storms by becoming weather themselves. That is the level of transformation only difficulty offers. And that's why the hard path is not just harder, it is holier. Most of what is sold as self-development today is decoration, mental decor, motivational lighting for a house built on sand. Because real development is unphotogenic. It happens in ugly hours. It comes with no dopamine. It doesn't trend. It doesn't care about your followers. It cares only about your follow-through. It's not sexy to repeat a system daily until it breaks through your old identity. But it is sacred because it is honest. And honesty, in a world engineered for illusion, is revolutionary. The hard path gives you that honesty. Effort is the only currency that reality respects. You cannot buy strength. You cannot rent clarity. You cannot delegate discomfort. These things must be earned, slowly, brutally, intentionally. And that's why the hard path will always look lonely. Not because no one wants truth, but because most people want truth without the trauma of becoming it. But those who stay the course, who remain while others fold, inherit something deeper than success. They inherit themselves. No one can walk this path for you. You can have mentors, books, systems. But eventually it comes down to repetition, to pain tolerance, to resilience. The world will hand you every excuse to stop, every backdoor, every flattering lie. And the hard path will offer only silence. It will offer you a mirror, not a megaphone. But if you accept that silence, if you study that mirror, you will begin to build something that cannot be taken. Something that no algorithm can erase. Something that no collapse can uproot. The first wall always arrives without warning. It is not made of brick. It is not a test of muscle. It comes in the form of a whisper, a mental fog that clouds your vision right after the novelty wears off. In the beginning, everything feels fresh. New effort still tastes like ambition. But eventually silence sets in. Progress slows, results vanish, applause fades, and then it strikes the weight of boredom, the aching, hollow feeling that asks, "Why am I doing this at all?" Most people interpret this as failure. They quit because they think the path betrayed them. But the truth is, they never met the path at all. They only flirted with its entrance. The first wall is the invitation. The world doesn't tell you that success starts in emotional fog, not in clarity, not in certainty, but in repetition without reward, the stretch of days where nothing changes. No compliments, no spikes in metrics, just you and the work. And in that trench, doubt comes crawling. It questions the dream. It dissects the plan. It injects whispers into your bloodstream. Maybe you're not meant for this. Maybe it's already been done. Maybe it's too late. Those doubts aren't personal, they're programmed. The system is designed to test your emotional stamina before your strategic potential. And those who outlast the fog, those who keep building while blind, begin to bend reality. Uncertainty is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Because only those willing to act without guarantees are capable of creating guarantees for others. Everyone can move when they're certain, but certainty is a luxury reserved for those who move without it. That is the paradox. The ones who wait to feel ready never begin, and the ones who begin without feeling ready eventually redefine readiness. Every revolution starts in silence, the silence of someone doing the work when no one believes it matters. The mind was not designed for modern mastery. It evolved to seek safety, not fulfillment, to avoid risk, not navigate it. So every attempt to change yourself, every discipline, every goal, every habit is interpreted by your brain as a threat. It resists, it stalls, it begs for escape, and it will throw boredom at you like a weapon. Not because it hates progress, but because it fears the unknown that progress unlocks. The boredom is not the barrier, it is the threshold, the gate that filters out those who love the idea of change from those willing to sit with the discomfort of transformation. Boredom is not a lack of stimulation. It is the resistance your nervous system produces when you stop outsourcing meaning. When the external noise dies and you're forced to face your own agency, your own void, that silence scares people. So they run to their distractions. They tell themselves they need more data, more time, more feedback. But the ones who stay still, who breathe through the fog instead of fleeing it, find something terrifying and holy. They find themselves, the unpolished, unfiltered version. The one who doesn't need applause to move. The doubt isn't a sign to quit. It's a signal that you're far enough in to matter. Doubt only haunts those who left the comfort of certainty. If you feel it, you've already crossed a line others avoid. You've left the safety of the crowd, and in that space the outcome is no longer visible. You don't know if it will work. You don't know if it will scale. You don't know if you'll be seen, but you move anyway. That's where your identity is forged, not in the outcome, but in the choice to keep going despite not knowing. Most people never quit because it's too hard. They quit because they don't know how long it will be this hard. The timeline kills more dreams than the difficulty. People can endure pain, they can endure effort, but uncertainty, that's where empires die in the mind before they ever reach the world. But here's the secret. If you can endure that uncertainty, if you can exist in that fog without losing your fire, you separate. You become the rarest breed, the one who doesn't just act in clarity, the one who creates clarity. The unknown outcome is where most creators give up and consumers are born. Because consumption offers certainty. You know what you'll get, what it will cost, what it will feel like. Creation, on the other hand, demands risk. It offers no guarantees, just the possibility of transformation. That is why most people settle for watching others build. Because to build yourself, you must sit with silence. You must dance with doubt. You must carry a vision that the world doesn't yet believe in. That's what it means to walk through the first wall. If you want to be rare, stop asking when it will get easier. Start asking who you must become so it no longer matters. The world cannot offer a timeline for personal greatness. It can only offer resistance, and your job is not to escape it but to make it irrelevant, to act anyway, to build while blind, to take steps with no applause, no map, no finish line in sight. That is the beginning of everything real. Because the ones who can sit in uncertainty don't just survive the fog. They own it, they shape it, they make it part of their story.